Hey, y'all. Thanks for joining us today. It's Web3 Weekly Live, and I'm your host, Shira Dudman. Yeah, I'm glad y'all are here. We're here today with a special guest, Advitha from Konma. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Advitha?
Hey, hi, hey Sheila, and hey everyone. Very glad to be here. This is a first time experience for me, pretty much. So, Sheela's gonna walk me through this whole process. But to introduce about myself, so I'm Advitha. I'm the co-founder and I head operations at Konma. So Konma is basically a blockchain-based venture, but I'm a nutritionist. So I'm more of the sciencey kind of a person who's more into food and health and wellness. So yeah, I think this is the coinciding point for me. Konma on the blockchain side and health and wellness is what I've learned all my life. So yeah, that's
I,
that's pretty
I
much about me.
Yeah, and
Yes.
I forgot to do in our intro. So it's always important to sort of re-center people and why we're here today for Web3 Weekly. And that was my fault. I tend to just like run into things. And so I'm just going to pull it back. And I totally said your name wrong. And I totally apologize because I put E sounds to every I see, despite the fact that my name is Shira. Go figure. But as a reminder, Web3 is powered by blockchain and cryptocurrency technologies. So, for everybody, some of you might know what Web3 is already, but for those of you who are new to Web3 and might be watching this because you guys are still trying to wrap your head around what Web3 is, it's the next generation of the internet, Web 3.0. And again, it's going to be powered by blockchain and cryptocurrency. And so, we're part of Web3 Weekly Live is to um, talk to founders and people working in Web3 so that we can start really wrapping our heads around just where it's going, where it is and where it's going, and how and why we want to adopt it. So thanks again. Um, let's. So I'm really interested in the fact, Advitha, that
Yeah.
you are a nutritionist. How
Yes.
the heck do blockchain and nutrition and wellness, like, what do
How
they
do they
have
fit
any,
together?
yeah, do they have anything in common?
So initially, when I started off with nutrition is what I learned through my college. So that was 5 years of my education, and I also worked as a nutritionist in a hospital setup. So it was all clinical. My entire experience was clinical. The entry of blockchain happened pretty much because of the founder of Konma, Vinay. So who's my partner in life and in work as well. So that's where the whole blockchain concept came in, and I've seen Vinay take classes related to blockchain, and so every time he sat for classes, I made sure I sat beside him just to know what this whole thing is about because he's been talking about it for quite some time. At that point, when I heard about blockchain and what the technology was, it just seemed very confusing. It was a new thing, obviously, and new things are not very easy to decipher, and it takes a while. So back then, no, I just couldn't see anything that health and wellness and blockchain could do hand in hand. But as you know the technology, as you learn about the technology, I think you will see the use cases more clearer. You'll get to see that blockchain could be a part of every single thing that you do on a day-to-day basis. Probably it's not as clear as daylight, but when you probe into this whatever field you are in, you will know that okay, so this is where blockchain fits in then. So yeah, that's how the blockchain and the health and wellness thing came together,
Okay,
and
so
the
you were like,
idea
how do I
triggered off from
bring
that.
wellness to blockchain?
Yes, yes,
Okay, so
correct.
have you found an answer? Have you found a fit?
So I have been working on this for almost a year now. I'm trying to figure it out because, as you know, there are many health and wellness related projects in blockchain. So Stepin is one of that, and Lemoverse is one of it. So these are all projects that have some sort of use case from blockchain that's also aiding in health and wellness. So for me, I'm trying to see ways in which, because blockchain has ways in which you can bring this incentivization mechanism, and health and wellness is not very easy for people to adapt to, because all of us find it more easier to adapt to a lifestyle that's not healthy for us. But when you have to make the shift and come back into a healthier routine, what most people fail at, or where most people falter, is when there is no incentive at given point of time. So most of the time, whenever, let's say for example, someone's really trying hard to lose their weight, and let's say they are they are following a routine, they are on a very good balanced diet, and their fitness is really good, they're working out, and the only thing that they find as incentivization is if the weight dropped or not. So most of them think that if I stand up on a scale and if I don't see a difference there, they're immediately demotivated. They immediately think that my efforts are of no point, then like why do I have to do it? So I was thinking about an incentivization mechanism where it's not just about the weight loss. You are on a weight loss journey, yes, but on the weight loss journey, there are many other things that you can track down for your health. It's not just the weight. It could potentially be inch loss. It could potentially be high energy. It could potentially be your endurance has increased from what it was maybe a month ago. So there are many factors that you can actually track, or incentivize on, instead of just on weight. So that's the line in which I'm trying to work on.
Yeah, that's gonna be hard.
It's going to be
I don't know. I would tell
extremely
people
hard.
when they're trying to lose weight, I mean, frankly, I'm like, just change. Do not focus on poundage, or else you're just gonna,
Yes.
I don't know, like it literally never worked for me. I just had to just change. And then all of a sudden
Yes.
you look up and you're like, whoa. So yeah, good luck on
Exactly.
that. And I think if you didn't get a chance to listen to our talk last week with Devin from
Hmm.
Crypto Chefs, it's kind of interesting because they were talking about incentives through a learn to earn model. And so
Okay.
it would
Okay.
be really
Hmm.
interesting to see how maybe a learn to earn model could work in
Yes.
terms of
Yes.
incentivizing people who are trying to lose weight. Just gonna throw
Correct.
that out there.
You never know. So the learn to earn side of things, we are working on Konma with one of the factions of Konma, which is called Konma Flair. So Flair is basically where talent acquisition happens, and we go in search of students or people who are well versed in a particular subject. We find them. Probably they do not know what blockchain is, so we make sure that we educate them on what blockchain is. We let them see what is the scope in whatever they are really good at when it comes to blockchain. So we do that part, and to do that, for them to actually learn, we're trying to bring a play to learn and play to earn kind of a format. So that's something that Konma Flair is entirely working on.
Cool, very cool. I think it's funny that you talk about blockchain because we talk about the fact that like Web3 is powered by blockchain technology,
Yes.
but
Yes.
I generally don't go a lot into blockchain because I feel like if like when we talk about let's say like decentralized ledger, blah blah blah, I feel like
Yeah.
that doesn't really connect with people. Like it matters if
It
you're trying
doesn't.
to be a developer, probably matters if
Yeah.
you are. I mean, I don't even necessarily say at this point, even if you're trying to be an entrepreneur in a sense, like you'll get there. I just think you kind of you need to understand where you're going first, And I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, there's people who are like technological entrepreneurs, but I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
I don't think everybody has to be there. Kind of like what you're saying, like you can drip into it backwards, like saying, like, I'm a nutritionist. Wait, so what's
Yeah.
this other thing got to, like, what can I use this for? And so I think, like I said, like we've been talking about Web3 and not necessarily delving so much into blockchain.
Blockchain. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think when you throw out that word blockchain, it can really, what's the word? Like it can like put up a roadblock and like a mental roadblock in
And
people's
yes.
heads, right?
Yes.
Especially because then as soon as they hear blockchain, they go, I'm not technical. Like literally every time I
Yes.
talk to somebody about something, I'm not technical. I'm like, you don't have
Yeah.
to be technical. It's just like an
Yeah.
industry, like any other industry. They have technical people. They have marketing people. They have people who like care about
Exactly.
nutrition. They have people.
So at this point, I want to tell you this. So when we do the Konma Flair program, we named the program that we offer to these students as a Web3 fellowship. So that was the starter. That was the start point. So Web3, Web2, everyone knows the internet era, and where we are in Web2 right now. So Web3 is an intriguing term for many. It is not very technical. It's not very weird. So they say, okay, so it's Web3. All right. So now what do I learn in Web3? Like you said, when you use the word blockchain, it's a lot more technical, and people really think that unless and until I'm not a developer, I don't think this conversation is going forward. But when we do the education from Conma's end when it comes to Web3, there is a little bit of technical just to understand what wallets are, to understand what is the role of this wallet. Because when we go to a very lay person and say, hey, this is what a wallet is, and there's a hard wallet, there's a soft wallet, they're all lost, they're all complete, they're all thinking of physical wallets. Pretty much, I'm pretty sure they're all painting an image of a wallet. So we do have the technical side of things, but we also focus more on what are the use cases of blockchain. So that is non-technical, entirely non-technical. We don't tell them that blockchain is a ledger and this is how it works, and no. Instead, we tell them that these are the use cases of blockchain. We give them the relatable factor of, okay, so this is what's happening in the real world right now, and blockchain could be the layer that's helping us do this. So we show them the use cases. So the students that we approach are not limited to just computer science students or students who are into development. We also have content writers, we have graphic designers, all of these people. So content writers literally came and said, so this is blockchain and it's all development, and I don't think there's anything to do with content in this scenario. You could be writing about web3 and web3 products. If that's something that you're interested in, you could just be a writer who can write about web3 products. It's a niche. It's a niche that now, if you're a food blogger, or if you're a if you are writing about health and wellness, you are picking up a niche in your writing. You could do the same with web3 as well. You could be writing about web3 products, you could be writing about web3 projects, could be anything. So now the students see that, oh, so I am a content writer and I still do have a space in Web3. It's not limited to only technical speaking people, and it's not limited to developers. So that's one. And the most important thing that we speak to all these students is the impact of Web3 and how decentralization works, what are decentralized ethics. And we also try to show them, we throw light on how we as a society were not as centralized as we think we are right now. We were in a decentralized world, and then we ended up in a centralized world because of how fast we're growing. So yeah, so though that's also one thing that we teach them, because most of these students do not know what free will is. They do not know that they can actually work in a space where they are not controlled by anyone. They can work at their pace, at their interest. But to bring them to that thought process itself is very difficult, unless and until they do not know what decentralization is, the concept of decentralization is, or what are the ethics that come under decentralization. It's going to be difficult for them to do anything. So
So
that's how we broke down our education.
well, what's funny is I'm hearing you, and by the way, that is fantastic. Especially, I think we definitely need to do like a whole episode on
Yeah,
decentralization, because you're right, that is
we
key. That
should.
understanding that concept is so key. And
Yes.
I'm hearing you say, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing that. So we're here to talk about Blockness, wellness, and Konma. So
Yeah,
tell me more about Konma and the community, because it sounds like you guys have like a lot of,
a lot.
yeah. So
A lot.
so what is it that
So
we
i
need
think
to
i think
know
the
about
last time,
Konma?
yeah, the last time we had a conversation, Konma is more of a picture that we have painted in our head. So this is what we tell every single person that we meet as well. Konma is pretty much pieces of puzzles to most people who come and talk to us. They do not know what the final picture is. They just know that there are these pieces and there are hundreds of them. Now, the final picture is in our head. So we say, once you piece all these puzzles together, I'm pretty sure you're going to see an image. So we've been telling this for a year now, and we have to show this image to people. So we finally came up with a structure that will solve this issue of, okay, so what exactly is Konma doing, and how much of work are you guys actually doing? So I think I can share my screen, right? I can show you just an image on what we do.
Yes, you should be absolutely able to do that. And this is
Uh,
funny. I'm loving to hear this because I think that's why it's so great that you talk to your students about use cases. And that to me
yes,
really is what Web3 Weekly Live is about. Web3 Weekly Live
correct.
is about presenting all of these use cases because nothing is set in stone. Web3 is so new.
Exactly.
There's nothing to really say this is what it is. It's just more of like
Correct.
this is what it can do and it could do more. But
True.
this is where we're starting out.
So this is pretty much how internet started off as well,
Mhm.
right? I'm pretty sure there were a lot of people who resisted what internet has to offer. Some of them did not understand it. Some of them did. People just thought that it would be a technology that cannot be adopted by everyone. But we are in a generation where we mindlessly use internet. You don't have to know that you are on internet, or when you're utilizing internet for your day-to-day work. But I'm pretty sure nobody's day passes without using an app to at least do one work of theirs. Something as simple as the amount of apps that we use right now on our phones, or to even facilitate this particular session that we're having right now. So many apps, so many possibilities on the internet. Now, when it comes to blockchain, also, I think we don't start with how technical blockchain is. We start with how blockchain can be part of your day to day life, maybe in the upcoming 5 or 6 years. So, is my screen visible?
Yes, it's there and it's big and we're
Oh,
little. We're little, it's
yeah.
big.
Awesome.
And it's got this really fancy circular image on it.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
great.
So this is pretty much the structure that we have put together when it comes to Konma in the last 3 years. It took us 3 years to make this extremely simple circular diagram. It's just circles and it's just names of things. But for us to ideate this and for us to actually put it in sequence, to put it in order, it took us 3 years. It might seem like a very long time to just make a diagram, but yeah, that's where we are.
Wait, actually, I have a quick question because
Yes.
and maybe this isn't so quick,
Yeah.
but when I go on Konma and it says
Hmm.
KonmaDAO,
Yes.
is every one of these sort of pieces fit under the DAO, or will the DAO be part of
Yeah.
this? Like, and
So
let's
KonmaDAO
talk
is the
about
larger
DAO.
DAO.
Let's talk about the
Yeah.
DAO, what a DAO is,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how that fits into what Konma is.
Yes. So to answer your question, KonmaDAO is a DAO in itself, and every single entity that you see here on the yellow, green, and blue and purple sequence, all of it will be sub DAOs under Konma's DAO. So it is a little complicated when you have to break down the structure and speak about it. But when it comes to a decentralized autonomous organization, reaching autonomy for such a large ecosystem is extremely difficult by large. Instead, we are creating a Konma DAO, which is the main DAO, and we are creating sub DAOs underneath it so that the whole reaching the autonomy part becomes a lot more easier based on what each faction is doing. So that's how we divided this whole thing. So I'll just break it down for you guys to
Yeah,
make it
we're
a more
this is
clearer picture.
exciting. Yeah, let's get into this.
Yes. So what you see here right now is called the ripple. We call it a ripple because it pretty much is a layer by layer approach. What you see at the core, the labs and the hope. So everything that you see on the left hand side of this image, that is labs, Flare, Ambassador Kernel, and Moai, are all the wings of Conma. And every single thing that you see on the right hand side, which is Hope, Upskill, Click, Chain, and KonmaDAO, are the programs under Konma, or entities under Konma. Yeah. So Konma Labs and Konma Hope is pretty much the core of where the Ripple starts off in Konma. And I'll tell you why we are having this in a Ripple format in the end. So once what Labs and Hope basically does is Labs is the R&D wing of Konma. So research and development happens there. Anything that you take for a matter of fact requires some amount of research. And if you, let's say for example, have an idea, for you to know that this idea is worth it or this idea is going to make it, you do need to do some research to find out if this idea that you have is going to solve something. Once the research is done, you will have to develop on your idea and bring it into shape. So labs is pretty much where any idea for that matter comes in and is ideated and is developed.
So
So
do you
that's
see
why
yourself
labs is
as
the
like
R&D.
not an accelerator, but kind of like an accelerator?
It's an incubation flow. It's
Incubator.
an incubation
You
kind of a
just said it.
place. So yes. So labs does the research and development for Konma, and Hope is where the incubation and the acceleration happens. So Konma Hope is basically a place where open innovation and incubation happens. So that's what labs and Hope is. So once you have a product or an idea and you are in the development stage, you do need people to be involved in this. People who could be developers, people who could be technical, people who could be community based, any kind of people. So the next layer that comes into picture is the flare and upskill, basically where the human resources come in. So Flare is where we do the talent acquisition, meaning we reach out to colleges, schools, and universities, educate students on what Web3 is, and interested students then come into, get absorbed into Konma's system, and they start working on projects in Konma and external to Konma. So that's what Flare does. Upskill is where we are trying to build a immersive LMS platform where you could. So the courses in the upskill platform is not limited to blockchain. It is a place where you can learn anything under the sun. So, do you want to learn agriculture? Do you want to learn nutrition? Do you want to learn how to do 3D printing? Do you want to learn how to, learn the art of permaculture? It could be anything. So
So
that
is
comes
this
under
where
Konma
the
Upskill.
okay, so when you go to Konma
Yeah.
Community, Konma
Yes.
Community, it
Yes.
states that this is like a global marketplace. So when
Yes.
we're
So the
talking about
marketplace. So marketplace is where Konma actually started. So you wouldn't believe the story of Konma in the last 3 4 years. So we started off as a single product brand, which was making a food product, and that's where we started off with this whole idea of Konma. Once we had this product out there, we realized that there are a lot of people and a lot of food related product, art related products, and lifestyle related products out there. So then we said, why do we have to run a store just for one single product when we can turn it into a marketplace for food, art, and lifestyle? Once we turned it into a marketplace for food, art, and lifestyle, we realized that we can, instead of limiting it to just a marketplace, let's start building an ecosystem around it, which is not just, get vendors, put them on the marketplace, and then sell their products. We wanted to make it into an ecosystem, and it kept evolving. And then, blockchain came into picture, and that's how this whole thing happened.
okay,
So the website that you
wow.
see as of now, the Community
Mhm.
website, is just the marketplace. The original website for Konma, which is going to be konma.io, will be released very soon. The work is in progress.
Okay. So
Yeah.
when you talk about the upskill portion,
Yes.
would
Yes.
that be, and I guess that's why I was wondering, is it completely different or would that be sort of like classes available on the marketplace and that's why they can be so much more than just trying to learn about blockchain? Or is this an
Yes. So
ecosystem?
this will
Okay.
be a separate platform, Shirab. So basically, Upskill is going to be an LMS platform where education is not just going to be a two-way system where the person is teaching you, the expert's teaching you, and the student is learning. We're trying to make it into a play to learn, a play to earn, a teach to earn kind of a system where the stakeholder could be a student who wants to learn something, or it could be an expert who wants to teach something. For teaching, the expert earns. For probably playing a particular game to learn something, the student can earn. So it's a play to earn, learn to earn, and teach to earn
So I was
kind
gonna
of a
say
system.
teach turn.
Yes.
That's really interesting. Okay, and
Yeah.
so would that also be tied to this Konma.io website that you're
Yes, so Konma.io
will
is
be
going to
launching?
have the entire, like what I'm showing you right
Okay.
now is going to be
Housed
placed
at
on the website.
Konma.io.
Yes. So yeah, that's what Konma.io is going to be. Upskill is going to be a separate platform in itself, and that's in development stage right now, and we're working on the UI UX for it.
Okay, and so
Yeah.
everything on the right-hand side is going to be sort of its own
Yes, it's going to be sort of its own program.
program. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. So once the people layer or the human resource layer is done, the next layer that you see is the marketing layer. So we have the ambassador program. When you say an ambassador is pretty much someone who's going to go endorse your product, speak more about your product, and for doing that they're going to earn. So here, how the format is different is an ambassador could be anybody. You don't have to be a well-known person to do it. You could be anyone who can go speak about Konma, or spread word about Konma, or bring in projects into Konma, or bring in customers into Konma. And for every time someone makes a purchase, so let's say for example I'm coming to you, Shira, and saying, Shira, there is this platform called Konma, and they're offering this course on upskill. Would you like to take it? And I'll share a link with you for you to sign up. So you were probably looking to learn something about permaculture, and I thought about you, and I said, Trina, you want to learn permaculture? Konma is offering it, and I'm going to share a link with you. Once you make a purchase, or once you register for that particular program and make a payment for endorsing this particular platform to you, I'm going to get a particular incentive. Now, since Konma is an ecosystem and is not just limited to upskill, you probably end up exploring Konma Marketplace. And you go into the marketplace and you find few products that are very interesting, and you make a purchase there as well. Now, every single time you're going to make any purchase on Konma, me being the person who was an ambassador and who came and endorsed this particular product to you, every single time you make a purchase, I'm going to make an incentive. So it is more of a the customer being mapped to an ambassador, and the ambassador getting incentivized for a lifetime.
Okay,
So
that's pretty
that's what
radical.
Konma
My
does.
brain is like, that's pretty radical. Wow. Okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like the ambassador, your referral system is almost like a ongoing like royalty system for that initial referral. That's pretty
Yes.
crazy.
So more than so the general affiliate program that you see right now is, I'm
Mhm.
going to endorse something to you, you get a
Mhm.
discount, I get an incentive, and that's where it ends. Now in the current affiliate system, the problem is this: if you are in a place where you have to keep nudging someone, and only if they make a purchase, or if every single person makes a purchase, only you make an incentive, it's going to be more of a nagging kind of a system. I'm going to keep telling Shira, can you get this? Shira, this product's there, and I'm constantly
Mm.
coming and endorsing this to you. Instead, all I'm going to do is, I come and tell you once, you make a purchase. After that, every single time you make a purchase out of your own whim, not because Advitha came and stressed upon it saying, Shira, do you want to purchase this? Or I'm not marketing this to you every day. You make a purchase, maybe you make 5 purchases in the next 10 months. For all those 5 purchases, I'm going to get incentivized. So my focus would be more on bringing new people into the system than having to nudge every single person every single day.
Mm. Even though it doesn't hurt
So
because you'll still be incentivized if you can get them to go back in.
yes.
I mean,
So
you're
if
still
you're going to
incentivized
do
to get
that,
them to go back
yes.
in. It's both. It's
Yes.
yeah, it's like a two-prong incentive. Bring in new
Correct.
people, activate the ones who are already there.
So this is for people
Brilliant.
who are actively doing it. Now consider someone, maybe a student who is working, or a student who is in college right now and is looking for a part-time work. Now this could also be a part-time work for them in that case. So that's one part of ambassador. So ambassador basically focuses entirely on the marketing front of things. So that's what Konma ambassador does. And Konma Click is where the reward system works. So this is something that's under process right now, and we still haven't, written down the nitty gritties of how it's going to work out. But Konma Click is going to be the reward system where the airdrops and bounties and all that is going to be coming in. So that's Konma Click.
So is this going to be, and I don't know, stop me if I'm getting ahead of myself, but is
Yeah.
this more, is this going to be more like token based or NFT based?
It will be token based. Yes.
It makes sense. I just trying
Yes.
to like, that
It
makes
is.
a
You
lot
you
more
got it
sense,
right.
especially with
Yes.
the, yeah, everything that's happening.
Yeah. So that's the third layer, the marketing layer. So there's products, and then there's people, and then there's marketing, and then comes the kernel layer. So Konma kernel is basically the architecture layer and the operations layer of Konma. That's pretty much what I head. So every single work that you do, or every single process that happens in a company or in a brand or in anything for that matter, now any sequence of work that you do is pretty much a flow of, there is a flow of event that happens. Now what Karma kernel basically does is it creates an architecture of, let's say for example, a department, maybe a department like research and development, and says, so this is what happens in a research and development department. This is the architecture in which the work is going to flow. Once this architecture is tracked and is positioned, we can deploy a smart contract, and this is how autonomy can be reached. So kernel basically builds the architecture layer of Konma, a little bit technical, but it basically makes life easier for people. I think that's the best way you can put it. Instead of having to manually do jobs that are repetitive, this will give you an opportunity to automate these tasks. So that's what Konma kernel does. Konma chain is basically what we are building it as, is a second layer on Cardano. So that's what Konma chain is going to be. So the chain is basically where the tokens and all those things comes into existence. So yes, that's
Wow.
Konma chain.
That's like, this is
As you go outwards, Sheila, it's just
amazing.
going to get a little bit more technical, sort of. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm serious. I'm like, I'm sitting, my brain is still like, wow,
Yeah,
this is
I get it.
amazing. No, and I'm saying I love it because this is so well thought through, and
Yeah.
it just really, if you want to talk about something that shows the potential for blockchain and
Yeah.
Web3, it's
Yeah.
I really think y'all have captured this by going through so many layers of what this can be. And so let's delve more into KonmaDAO. And I think
Yes.
it's because so many people are still, I think there's two things when you think about Web3 mainly:
Yeah.
NFTs, DAOs.
Yes.
And so now that you have this whole structure in front of you, and I
Yeah.
don't mean you, I mean, whatever, our viewers have this whole structure in front of them.
Yeah.
What does a, how does a DAO help organize a structure like this? What is the importance of a DAO when we talk about decentralized, you know, autonomous organizations? Sorry, I wanted
Yeah.
to bring up my little label.
Yeah.
When we talk about that, like, what does again? Why is it so important, especially when you're dealing with tokens and
Yeah.
where does the DAO come in?
So this is the last layer that we've built, because let's say once the ripples flown through, and the last layer is where it all comes into form pretty much. So to explain what's on the left hand side, the Moai. So Moai is basically the governance layer of Konma. At the end of the day, if you take a real world scenario and a real world company, there is going to be a layer that pretty much manages everything that comes under it. So usually the top layer that we speak about is the financial layer, the management layer, and the legal layer. So you in most of the companies that you see right now, these are three different departments that work individually. What we are trying to do here is build it into a MOI and create a trivergence where the management, the financial, and the legal system works simultaneously and hand in hand. So this way, that's why we call it a trivergence, because all these three coming together is what we call the governance system when it comes to a DAO. Yeah. So what MOI will basically do is govern everything related to Konma, see the functioning of how Konma is working, and come up with the legalities of it, how the financial systems or the tokenomics is supposed to work. In case if there is any issues, or if there are any disagreement within two parties within Konma, how do you come with a dispute resolution protocol? All of these are things that the MOI comes up with, the Konma MOI comes up with. Now, when it comes to a decentralized autonomous organization, the word itself can be broken down like this. If there is a central authority in a company, it is pretty much centralized and definitely not decentralized, right? So when you say decentralized, it basically means that there is no one person or a group of people holding a lot of power. So that's where decentralized autonomous organization starts off with. Obviously there is no way that something is created without involvement of a bunch of people, like how Konma started off with, like a bunch of people who are building it from scratch. We will just be the people who started it once it becomes a DAO. We will not be the people who started it and hold authority over everything once Konma becomes turns into a DAO. Yeah.
Got you.
So reaching
Got you.
autonomy basically means that anything or any decisions that are made in Kanma is made as a community by large and not by group of people.
Got you. And so
Yeah.
it's
So
essentially all the governance is going to be
yes.
represented in the tokens.
Yes. So when it comes to Konma DAO, once we've reached the autonomy, it basically means that we have laid a base structure. We are telling that this is how Konma is going to function, be it its tokenomics, be it its the protocols that we have, the system that's going to function in the form of a protocol. There is not going to be a person to take a decision. Then how does work happen? How does work go forward? Every single thing that happens under Konma, the architecture of Konma is turned into a smart contract. Once you have the flow of things, you basically convert it into code, and code is considered law. Meaning, KonmaDAO comes with a base law or base protocol saying this is how Konma is going to function. These are all the tokens that's coming under Konma. If anything needs to be changed, any decision needs to be made, any let's say for example there is a certain rule that we had set in the base protocol, and that rule does not work out anymore and it needs to be changed, the community or an individual or a group of people put in a proposal saying, hey, this is how we have been following all this while. Now let's probably change this particular thing to something else. Now this is just a proposal that the person from the community can put forward. The community then takes up a vote to make a final decision. Not the founders of Konma, not the core team of Konma. We don't decide. We are not the authorities that's going to make any changes. The community is going to do it. To
Gotcha.
achieve this, the final baseline is this: we should have rules that are set. The rules will be turned into code, and the code will be law. Once the protocol is out there, once the smart contract is deployed, and there is nobody else heading Konma DAO is pretty much decentralized, and we're there, which
Wow.
is a long process. Obviously, it's not going to happen overnight.
Yes.
No constitution is built overnight. It's going to take you a
Yes.
while to iterate it, and
Yes.
come to a final picture saying, yes, this is where I'm leaving it. After this, it entirely depends on the community, and the community is going to take it forward.
Yeah, but thank you for that explanation, because I think so many times people say DAO and then they say
Yeah,
decentralized autonomous organization, code,
yeah,
blah, smart contracts. It doesn't mean
yeah.
anything if you don't understand what it is people are
What
trying
it
to
is.
organize. Yeah, like what are they trying to organize? What are they trying to govern? So I'm really glad
Yeah.
that we took the time
And
to
the
walk
one
through
thing I
this.
want to add here
Hmm.
is, obviously, you don't start anything in a decentralized format. Like I said, if you have to build something, you do start in a pretty much centralized format, because there needs to be a group of people who needs to come to consensus. There needs to be a group of people who are working towards decentralization. So no organization can immediately be a DAO. A DAO is pretty much a process, and how quickly you achieve, the DAO status is completely up to how efficient your team is going to work, and how you've structured your entire ecosystem. So there is no, company that can be immediately to, come up with a tag saying, "Hey, we're already a DAO." And I
That
think
is
I
so
think the word
brilliant.
DAO is being very, very, very freely used, because there are many organizations that immediately say that they are a DAO even without achieving semi decentralization. So
Yes.
it's almost like a this is how the process works, Shira. You start with centralization, where a bunch of people start things, and then you move on to semi decentralization, where there are some certain things that we have to take decision on as a group of people, and then the community is also obviously supporting through it. Once you have an experience of what all could go wrong, how are
Mhm.
things supposed to go, is only when you can
Yes.
actually shift to complete decentralization. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But I think you can say that because you're actually sitting and doing and working through this, and it realizing the process, as opposed to trying to use the word DAO as like a marketing gimmick. Like
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
actually trying to create a DAO. So
yes.
that's how and why you can give us such great points
Points,
and
yes.
say like, hey,
We know
if
the
you're
pain
hearing of a
of
DAO right now,
creating it.
it's probably a gimmick.
Yeah. So there is a lot of struggle involved to create something like that. But once it is done, and once it's out there, it is the most, how do I put it, it's the most peaceful thing, I would say, because we're all trying to do something, we're all trying to get there, we're all trying to build something huge, and I think we're constantly doing it throughout our lives. There might be things that you are really good at, but you've set it aside because, hey, I've set a goal of reaching it to that point. And we're all chasing behind something constantly. Once an organization becomes an actual DAO, the people within that organization actually find a lot of freedom. They find a lot of ways in which they can, they don't have to work really hard. All they have to do is work smart and do things that they absolutely are good at doing, and not having to do things that they're forced to do. So the end result is really beautiful, but the journey is obviously tough. Nothing's going
Yeah,
to come very
very
easily. And
right, very
yeah,
tough. I mean, I
that's
think
the process.
you already see how many of these smart contracts can be exploited, and they're being created,
Exactly.
by tons of people having their brain on it. And so
Yeah.
it's definitely going to be a process, and so many people are scared of that process.
Yes.
As soon as they hear of something going wrong, they're like, "Oh my God, everything!" And I don't think they remember how everybody was like so scared of Y2K, because like
Exactly.
we're always assuming everything will break. We don't understand anything, but it's just like the process of technology, that there shouldn't
That's
be
how
so
it
much fear
works.
around it.
There will be speculations, things will break, obviously, if it's going seamlessly, and you don't see any fault in it. There is something very, very, very clearly wrong with it.
So I have a quick question.
Yes.
Do we have other we I see George from Konma. might join?
Yes, we do have the entire bunch of Konma here.
Oh,
Like
okay. So
Vinay,
I wasn't
Advi here.
sure. I was like, I think they're here to join, but I'm not sure. So I'm going to add y'all to the stream. I'm going to maybe the other device is not connected. Hi, George. There were other people here on earlier, but I wasn't sure. It was too much we were in this conversation. I didn't want to break the conversation. There's somebody else here, but I can't add them to the stream. So hi, is there anything you wanted to add to our discussion today?
Can you hear me?
Sure
Yes,
can,
George.
Roger that.
Good conversation, good conversation between both of you, and to hear from the Konma ripples. So it's once that picture came through, I joined Konma 4 years back from the Mobile standpoint. So I'm still, as Advitha was saying, we are trying to put the pieces from the governing layer, because the team, the core, had been working on it for a longer period, like 3 years. And we just had the Konma as the organization little more than a year now. So for me, it is like the entry point and trying to understand. But I come from engineering background with 25 plus years of experience. So I'm trying to put that picture of my experience into the blockchain world. I'm new to the blockchain world, like a little more than a year, through Gitcoin, Ethereum, and Algorand, and Cardano community, and now Konma. So that's my journey in the blockchain world. So yeah, it is a beautiful picture when you look from the Ripple standpoint, where the center, it starts as an idea. So you can just close your eyes and say, this is where the idea starts, and the labs and the Hope program bring it together, make the idea a little more fruitful, and then the Ripple continues to the next level, where we are seeing people coming in from the flare and upskill, be ready to do the program, take the execution forward. And the next layer is ambassadors and click, where we are saying, okay, who else can partner with us? We don't have to do it independently. We can have other combinations, and how to reward them, how to engage more people, more community, more collaborations. And the next layer is the kernel. Advitha is in the kernel operations and the tasks, and how do we plan these tasks, how these teams work together, and that will become our chain over time. And the next layer is the governance, where we are looking at from a legal mindset, as well as tokenomics, treasury, and how these teams come together in this cooperative model. And from there, it comes out into the community, where we are engaged with the Konma community in different tribes and topics. So it's a beautiful model, and it's a beautiful ripple. Like once it starts, you can touch in any point, it will ripple through to any direction. So that is the other way to see it too. So an idea can start at any point, and it can go into any direction.
So both of y'all brought up this word tokenomics, and I threw it up on the screen. And I wanted to throw it up on the screen just to bring awareness to this idea. And that is really, looking at your token as a business model. That's what the whole idea of tokenomics is. You're going through, how is your token actually going to work, and seeing it through. It's not just about, having a token out there to fundraise. It's got to serve a purpose, and how it's gonna serve a purpose. And I think that having y'all walk us through so many layers, and seeing Konma really thinking about these layers really shows the diligence that y'all are putting into the tokenomics of the project. So I just wanted to throw that out there for people who aren't necessarily used to that term.
Thank you. Yeah, it is interest from a token perspective. We can simplify it as like any stock option. Like a company with an idea, they have their own organization, and they build up, and it becomes a stock in a centralized exchange. And instead, in the crypto world or Web3 world, we are going into the tokens or crypto coins, which is a direct equivalent. We have an idea, and it becomes our own entity, and a coin or a token, and it has its value based on how much of the idea we are able to bring together as a team. and organized, and how we can make it flow together as a team, and the benefit from that token. So yeah, so we are early in that phase, but yeah.
Yeah, and whether you'll have like a separate governance token, I mean, like how that, all those things, how they play into one another, and it's just, there's a lot to think through. And I guess again, if you're like new to Web3, it's part of understanding just how much there's a lot of work for the people who are trying to, I don't know, I don't know what to say, like bring Web3, like what it means to convert Web 2 into Web 3. And when you have all of these sort of token driven projects, the fact that you have to think these through, and like you said, the value, how does it bring value to the community? How do you increase value? How do you know, how many tokens people have to have, and what that means in terms of who's governing and things like that. I mean, there's just so many things to think through. So again, it's like crazy how many layers y'all are thinking through.
Yeah, it's a pathway. I'll let Advitha answer. From the Web 2, Web 3 journey they had already begun, because they had started as a Web 2, and now we are in the Web 3, or moving into that direction.
So thank you, y'all. I thank you, Advitha, for coming on and just walking us through that crazy graph. It almost broke my head. No, I'm just joking. I'm gonna have to go back over the recording and look through it, because it was just fascinating. And thank you, George, for coming on and adding your input. I know that there were other team members that dropped off that may have had input, but again, thank you. I'm sorry that we're all learning StreamYard. So thanks for your patience on that. And if y'all are finished with anything that you have to say, just last moments, I think it's time to put our little talk to an end. And again, just thank you. This is great.
Thank you for having us, Shreera. I think the one thing that I would like to say is the ripples that we are creating right now, the ripple effect, and why we structured it into a ripple is because a ripple is very easy to flow through. There is no effort. There is no there is no, you're not choreographing it in any ways. It just happens. It's a flow, and that's exactly what we're trying to create. Anyone walks into the Konma ecosystem, the flow is going to be pretty simple. And like how George said, you get involved anywhere and the ripple goes in that direction. It's as simple as that. So there is no, it's considered like a rain, pretty much. So yes, thank you so much. This was really fun. I don't think I've ever done this before, and this has never happened. So this was really fun. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry your camera didn't work. I apologize about that.
Yes.
It's always that, but it's lovely to see your icon there. Okay, yeah. Well, thank you, Advitha. Thank you, George from Konma. Thank you for walking us through the many layers of your organization, and we can't wait to see how this continues to progress.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye, y'all.
Bye.